Hello, it's Paula, and I'm here with Richard and Vanessa and my son Tom on drums. And I am going to start the show today with something, I don't know, it just reminded me of Trump for some reason. And I just thought I would read this one little quote. Okay, so, nope, that's not the one. All right. Now, forgive my pronunciation of all of these incredibly difficult names. Archimedes, the king of the Lacedaemonians, asked him whether he or Pericles were better wrestlers. He made this answer. When I, he said, have thrown him and given him a fair fall, by persisting that he had no fall, he gets the better of me and makes the bystanders, in spite of their own eyes, believe him. So apparently this has been going on for many a century. I just thought that was interesting. But yeah, I'm still on Plutarch's Lives. The histories, this edition with the translation says, translation by G. McCulley. And I have to say, this is way easier to read than this translation by it's the Dryden translation. It must be a classic.
Oh yeah, translations. I remember reading the poetry of Catullus in high school, and there was a really, really good version filled with filth and expletives, as it should be. And then I found an earlier printing from the 60s that was really reserved and wasn't. It wasn't full of the fun or spice or flavor of what Catullus is really about.
Yeah, I think you have to be sensitive to that because, if you're gonna translate something, you want to translate not only the words but the flavor of the words.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine. I'd like to see if this guy that did the histories by Herodotus did a translation of Plutarch's Lives, because I would buy that in favor.
You're familiar with Catullus, right?
No, I am not.
Well worth reading. I suggest reading Catullus.
Is Catullus Roman or Greek?
Yeah, Roman. Yeah,
Roman. Okay.
Roman.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of hot. There's a
Roman poet. He's
the
great.
Romans did a lot of crazy shit. I mean, aside from the vomitorium behind their, because they used to lay down to eat, and then they had a trough behind them, and they used to vomit into the trough and then continue to eat. But they did some. They had some weird. I mean, they had sex with babies, and and they. Oh, I mean, this was toward the end, the fall of Rome, which is where we're at now in the United States. So,
how long did the Roman Empire last, though?
I don't have an answer for you. I think there were. How long did the Roman Empire? Okay, let's ask my phone. How long did the Roman Empire last? Approximately 503 years. Approximately. I don't.
That was a long time, a lot longer.
From its founding in 27 BC until the fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476 AD. However, the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire, continued until 1453 AD, when Constantinople fell. There's your complete answer to that question. But I've read, and even their cookbooks are grotesque. I mean, they would.
Yeah, tell me something from
They
one.
would serve songbirds. They would take the. I don't even think they took the feathers off of them. They would.
Pigeons?
No, steam songbirds, like, larks, larks' tongues.
An aspic, like the record by King Crimson.
Yeah, well, that's where he got it from.
Yeah.
It's a Roman dish, or they would just stuff different, like the turducken, only they would get really crazy and end up with like a rhinoceros or something. They were bizarre. But anyway, I think the Roman Empire is fascinating. I do. I find it fascinating. And I find Greeks fascinating. But I'm limited in my understanding of
I like Greek restaurants. They invented the Texas hot.
I like Greek restaurants too. I never really made the connection between the two, but that's interesting. But so here we are together again. We lost James because James, oh, babies. Yeah, Lou. There's a lot of weird. I think it was in. I don't remember which book it was I read. Maybe The Golden Ass. It's not a complete. It's like one of the first novels ever written, and it was not complete. So I read only the parts of it that they had historically translated. But
Is there a Marvel graphic novel adaptation available?
there should be. I think that's something you should work on. You could work on it with Tony the truck driver. Tony the truck driver would do the illustrations, and you could do the writing.
Tony and Vanessa have an active correspondence.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, to Tony's amazing. I mean, if you could talk Tony into doing a comic book with you, it would sell a zillion copies.
They would.
Yeah, so he's very talented. So Richard, I don't, without getting, I don't want to really get into the Israeli-Palestinian thing because it makes me cringe mostly. But is there anything else on your list that you'd like to talk about?
I wrote some notes down after watching the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live.
Oh, okay. I saw that as well. So
You saw it?
Yeah,
the
I did.
3-hour thing?
I did.
Oh, good. And Vanessa didn't see it, so Vanessa will feel.
well, I know you were saying you don't care that much about it, but it really was entertaining, and yeah, I enjoyed it.
So here's what I wrote down after I watched it. The event had a few unspoken themes.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, who can demonstrate they have the most talent?
Okay, I have to think about that.
So,
Johnny Carson.
So he wasn't on. He's dead.
I know.
So for example, Meryl Streep
Yeah,
came on to do that skit.
yeah, she
And
flubbed it.
Meryl Streep, she used her acting skills.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
She didn't do what a lot of celebrities do, is they stare at the cue card and they recite the lines.
yeah,
She actually put her heart into it.
yeah. She did, but she did flub the lines though because she wasn't really. There were a couple things that she misspoke, but go ahead.
Therefore, when Robert De Niro came on and he went into that bar where he was annoyed by the bartender,
Uh-huh.
he did the same thing. He started acting instead of looking at the cue card and reading his lines.
Oh,
And I
so
think
I
he
didn't really
was
notice that,
inspired
yeah.
by her.
yeah.
Like,
Because it
wow.
was live. It was live, and so he saw her go on first, and then he made that decision to, yeah. That's an interesting point. I didn't even really think about that.
So, and then of course there was, I thought another thing that was quite memorable was when Adam Sandler came on and did his song.
Mm-hmm.
He resisted the temptation to do a song about all the nice things that took place while he was on the staff.
Oh yeah,
Instead, he talked about all the irritating and frustrating things. I thought that was brilliant.
yeah. It was very funny.
Another unspoken theme to that was, if there is a 60th anniversary, a lot of these people will be dead.
I think that somebody mentioned something about, of course they did that that whole thing about who did pass away. But then they showed that John Belushi thing
Right.
where people weren't even dead yet. And he was saying who was dead, and he's the one that's gone. Of course, there were some people that that did actually
Don't
die.
worry, the asteroid is going to hit Earth and wipe out life before that anyway.
Well, that's something to look
It's going to be
forward
a
to.
big Atari asteroid.
Something to look forward to.
It
So,
is.
So there were people who showed up to
Yeah.
show their support,
yeah.
but they didn't appear in any skits
Oh, yeah, they were in the audience,
like
right?
Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
And so you're wondering, well, why wouldn't Chevy Chase want to be in any in any skits?
Yeah.
Until you looked on YouTube for interviews from the after party,
Oh.
where people went up and they talked to the other people.
Did you watch
I
those?
did, and then I realized why he didn't.
Mm-hmm. What did he say?
He said, "I'm very happy to be here," and then you realize, why is he only saying 3 words at a time? Because he doesn't have the breath anymore.
Oh my gosh.
You know,
He's got emphysema.
he's got something like that, obviously.
Ah, so he didn't want to go up and
How could you do a skit
emphasize.
by saying 3 words at a time?
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
That's true. So he made the
Which is
decision.
why when he was interviewed, his wife was so close to him, and every so often his wife would interject if it required a long answer.
Yeah.
So there was that, and Garrett Morris. When you see Garrett Morris, he's sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
You know why that is? He probably can't walk.
Yeah, it's possible. He looked very old. I don't know if it's because
81.
he's ill, but that's not that old anymore. I mean,
Okay.
really, when you think about it, people's health, people are keeping their health way longer than that.
So this brought us to the second thing that was just before it closed with Paul McCartney's song, was what you mentioned was the film
Yeah.
that was shot while John Belushi was alive.
Yeah.
And the filmmaker took John Belushi, they probably wrote the script together, took him to a graveyard. And John Belushi started off the film by saying, a lot of people thought I would be the first to go.
Yeah.
Little did they know that I am among the last. And here I am visiting all my friends who died before me.
Yeah.
Isn't that ironic? And I wondered, did that ever get aired? Or was it too unkind?
I don't know, but at the time, Gilda Radner still wasn't sick.
Yeah.
It was about 4 years before she got sick.
Yeah.
And so, but he mentioned her first.
And he
then,
made some joke about how they all died.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
then he dances on
Yeah.
their graves,
Yeah.
which took a lot of guts.
Right. I mean, he was very irreverent, and that's one of the things about the show that makes it funny. Is that they don't follow the rules. But what did you think about Paul McCartney?
I think he was straining.
Oh man!
Did you notice that?
Yeah, we saw him 2 years ago or something. When did we see him? A couple years ago when he was in Syracuse.
Yeah. Was he straining then?
No, his voice was great.
Right, that's what I've heard. I've heard that, yeah, he hasn't missed a beat. And I saw that thing on Saturday Night Live. I thought, he must have just dropped off.
Well, and we talked about, Greg and I talked about that. We said, maybe he was sick and he didn't want to cancel.
That could have been it.
But when we heard him, his voice was strong. And that was in an auditorium. And it was, he was belting. And it was actually pretty amazing considering how old he was at the time.
Yeah.
I don't remember how many years ago that was, but
Song did he do? Helter Skelter?
No, remember the last 3
yeah.
songs on Abbey Road?
Yeah.
Golden Slumbers, and then the second one, and then the third one?
yeah,
You probably know the
carry
3 of
that
them.
weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
And
so
what was really cool is for Ringo's drum solo, the drummer, Ringo should have showed up. I don't know why maybe Ringo's sick too.
Ringo, I think from what I've heard of him lately, his voice is stronger and he's older than Paul.
Oh, well, the thing about Ringo is he canceled his last tour
Oh.
because he got the flu. And he said to his doctor, this is not a good sign because I take super good care of my health
Yeah.
to keep my immune system up, and here I get the flu.
Yeah. Well, that just happens sometimes. Even people in the best of health, as you get older, your immune system gets slightly weaker.
That's what Ringo feared.
Yeah.
So that's why he canceled the rest of the tour.
Yeah, and I don't blame him. Keep his, you know, you want to,
So anyway, I thought it was neat that the drummer who was standing in for Ringo
Mm-hmm.
played that drum solo almost identical to what it was on the record.
yeah.
I thought that was nice. And then after that song, when you have the dueling guitar solos,
Uh-huh.
they also played it as close to the original as you could.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, it was nice because everybody did cheer for him, and I felt bad that, because like I said, we've seen him several times, and the last time in Syracuse, his voice was still pretty strong.
So you know that song, and in the end, the love you take is equal to love you make?
Yeah.
Did you notice that they showed a clip of Chris Farley?
No, I didn't notice, or if I did, I forgot.
Because Chris Farley had this thing about interviewing celebrities, and he would ask stupid questions.
Yes, yes.
When he interviewed Paul, he quoted that line.
Yeah.
And he said, "Is that true?"
Yeah. Yeah, because they showed part of that too on the show. Like, do you remember, like, when you were in the Beatles, and do you remember that? Do you remember? You know, and Paul said, yes, I remember. But it was, I thought it was great. We both, except I stayed up too late because I was enjoying it so much, and by the time I was ready to go to bed, I almost had to crawl into bed. But we finished watching the last part of it the next day, so I couldn't make it till the end.
Now, I found out, I haven't watched it, I don't know if I'm going to, but so you have actually 3 events. You have the 50th anniversary, which you got to see.
Yeah.
Then there's the after party, which you can only see on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
But there's a third thing. They had a 50th anniversary memorial concert.
The music.
The music. You heard about this.
Richard, I posted on my Facebook page the first, I guess it's 10 minutes of some brilliant, I think it's Questlove. He put together these collages of 2 or 3 different performances that all synced up rhythmically.
What do you mean by that? They all played the same song?
No, they were different songs, but they synced up rhythmically. Like he found in the most diverse people that you would never expect. It's not that the song sounded alike, but the rhythm.
You mean like the beats per minute was the same?
Not exactly. It's like there was like a syncopation in that.
If you played the 2 different songs together?
If you played them at exactly where he played them too.
Yeah.
It was the most genius collage I have ever seen in my entire life. When
You mean heard?
Saw, because they had the bands performing and the music playing, and so it just, and they were all at the same level, so it was a music collage, but also with the visual. It was tremendous. It was just tremendous.
Now, what you're saying, Paula, it reminds me of something that...
I'll show it to you on my phone after the show.
It reminds me of something that took place, I think it was 10 years ago, and Vanessa probably knows about this, where it was noticed that you could play 2 songs at the same time, and they would somehow merge the songs. Have you heard about this, Vanessa?
Mashups.
Mashup,
yeah.
that's right.
Well,
Is that what this was?
Yes, but they were so well done, and the music was so diverse that it just was mind-blowing. It was I could watch that over and over again into infinity because it was brilliant. And I do have a copy of it on my Facebook page, and I think I must insist you watch it.
Sure. Send me the link and I'll watch it.
Yeah, I will. So it's that was I think the music one was definitely worth seeing.
Mhm.
It was also 3 hours.
Oh, you saw the 3 hour
Yeah.
music. You saw it.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, all right.
yeah, yeah. But I was
Other
okay.
people who've seen it said that it was remarkably well done.
Well, this is what I think. I think the first hour and a half was great, and the second hour and a half was okay. You know, it was okay. It was worth seeing, but
Like, who are some performers that stood out to you?
you know, my memory is very poor, so I can't tell you. They had well, Billie Eilish was in one of the mashups, and jeez, they had Mick Jagger was on,
Oh.
and they just did a really good job. I can't. They did a lot at the second in the second half. They did a lot with like hip hop stuff.
Ah,
So I don't really know those artists very well. They did Kurt Cobain. They did, they just showed a lot of the old footage,
mhm.
and then they had people talking about it. It was really interesting. I thought it was really well done. The first half more than the second half,
Mhm.
but that's just my taste in music too.
Mm.
So I guess Mick would like to see your camera.
Yeah, and for some reason my comments are. I responded, but they're not showing up.
Lou says the drummer was sitting in, not standing in.
Very good.
Very good, Lou. As a drummer, you would know. Although I'm sure there are some drummers who stand.
Yeah, Mo Tucker from the Velvet Underground.
Oh.
Really? Okay, so I guessed and I was right.
So, Mr. Windsor, I responded to Mick's comment, but he said he didn't show up.
Yeah, well, I can't see it. So Nessa, what have you been up to this last week?
I don't even know. I've been
That's
in outer space.
yeah, I know. Well,
How is it out there?
It's
how
better there.
it's better there. I agree. It's probably warmer too. How is the weather affecting you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's so dreary. I've been looking out the
Yeah.
window.
All I want to do is sleep.
Yeah, sleep and just wrap yourself in a blanket and stay warm. Oh,
Such a bad place to put a civilization.
before when I was eating my dinner and we were watching Babette's Feast. Richard, have you seen that movie?
Oh, yeah.
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 We were watching that and we had to stop watching it because I had to take a shower to come here.
Oh.
So we're going to probably finish watching. Oh,
I remember when that was at the movie theaters,
yeah.
there were restaurants saying, if you go see this movie and come to our restaurant and show us your ticket, we will give you a menu of what was in the movie for you to eat.
Wow. Where was this? Like in New York or something?
No, right here in Buffalo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. How long ago was that movie?
Oh, it had to be 20 years ago.
Okay.
At least.
Yeah. So we were really enjoying it, and then I told him
What the hell happened there?
we got to. Oh my gosh, there's 3 of me. That will never do. Yeah, so between the weather, it was a very hectic week for me. Oh, I did. My mother-in-law had asked me to read her some of my stories from my book. I'd given her a copy. And so I asked her, I said, would you like it if I asked the activities director and I did a reading at the assisted living? And she said, oh, I would love that. I would love that. So I talked to the activities director and and she made a plan. So there were only about 6 women sitting there, but it was fun. The ones that did, a couple walked out when I said the word penis.
Jeez.
But, I figured they're adults. And the worst thing is when I see people infantilizing older people. I hate that. Because, you know,
Yeah.
I think everybody that's lived that long deserves to be treated with respect and as an adult and allowed to make whatever small decisions they can make, you know, and not forced into that. So I figured I asked them at the beginning, I said, do you want a funny story or a racy story? You know,
And they voted for Racy?
they voted for racy. So I read them a racy story. They said, we want a funny racy story.
Ah,
So, oh, you've been shoveling all week, Lou? Oh my God, we can't. Greg doesn't shovel anymore, and I can't shovel, so we hire somebody to shovel, and we spent a fortune this year so far. But it's just. I found salt.
oh,
do you know about
it's a rare commodity.
the shortage of salt? I found it in Lockport when I was there taking his mother shopping.
Niagara County, very interesting.
Yeah, so I got a bag of salt. I would have gotten you a bag had I known that you needed it, but I did not think of that. I should have actually bought them all and sold them for like $20 a piece.
Remember
No.
India Walton? She
I
ran for mayor.
yeah.
She was here on Wednesday.
I saw her picture on
Yeah.
the video thing. Yeah.
And she said, you want to know why there's a salt shortage?
Ah, she knows.
I said, yeah, I'd like to know why. And she said, because in the New York State legislature, Representative Tim Kennedy made a motion last year that all salt in New York State should be purchased from U.S. sources. And everybody voted in favor of that. All right?
Where does
even-
it usually come from?
Canada.
Oh,
Canada's got an abundance of salt mines. So because they voted for that, and then the salt mines in New York State got a run on them, the municipalities were prohibited from getting salt from Canada.
what a bunch of stupid assholes! I can't even believe it. You know, we have this great close neighbor that we are. It's like, why are we being so antagonistic?
So here's the irony.
Yeah.
Erie County found that there was a salt supplier in Kansas, the state
Yeah.
of Kansas, which means United States.
Yeah.
But when you look into it, Kansas doesn't have that law, and they import the salt from Canada.
Well, that's, you know,
Typical New York.
you've
Isn't that something?
You've heard Trump
Yeah.
is starting to call the guy that runs Canada the governor.
Yeah.
Oh, and they've been calling them the snow Mexicans too. That's the new.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
had it, but I. Do you have anything else on your list today?
Oh, sure. Let's see here. There's 4 futures. This is a fascinating.
Where did this come from?
Well, the author's name is Peter Fraze.
Oh, okay.
He's a writer,
Mm-hmm.
and he says what will happen. This is good because Vanessa likes to predict the future.
Mm-hmm.
So Peter Fraze says, here's what's going to happen. We're going to become more and more automated,
Mm-hmm.
which means more and more workers will be laid off.
Mm.
Because under capitalism, if you can have a machine do something for
Cost
a quarter of
effective.
the price,
Yeah.
you don't need the people.
Well, you buy the machine once. You don't have to pay them every week.
That's like what happened to radio, especially FM radio,
So the
where they have the bot playlists and computer generated playlists instead of having actual
Yeah.
jockeys or people actually pick the music.
Yeah, I know, and I hate that too. It's dead.
Mm-hmm.
So picture that. The unemployed working class will be getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the class of people that own the factories will become richer and richer and richer. but who's going to buy the products?
So they won't be becoming richer and
Which
richer and richer.
means that Peter Frey says 4 possible things are going to happen.
Okay.
All right? So, here's the first thing that will happen. I'll start with the worst. All right? The working class is going to start scrounging for food and scrounging for the essentials in life.
Mm-hmm.
And the ruling class is going to keep the working class from committing crimes through surveillance and other forms of technology.
Mm-hmm.
And there will be a lot of deprivation and illness and starvation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one possible future.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now.
Well,
another-
especially since we don't have anyone to pick our crops, if we have any crops.
Right. And you got to add global warming into the mix,
Yeah, right.
too, right?
Yeah.
All right. Another future is where the working class wakes up and gains some political power, and they say you've got to increase the welfare rolls. So you won't have the mass starvation, but you'll have people living on a minimum amount of handouts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then the next one is more and more things will start to be rented instead of owned.
And that
So
increases the wealth of the.
Right. So in other words, if you can't afford to buy a car, maybe they will rent you a car for, say, $25 a day or something like that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Which means that the people doing the renting, their income will keep increasing, whereas the people of the unemployed working class will remain at the same level,
Mm-hmm.
which is the subsistence level. But then there is the fourth one, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And in the fourth one, it goes like this. Automation leads to abundance. And the working class totally takes control of the government and says, we're going to distribute the abundant resources depending upon what you need. If you have trouble walking, we're going to make sure you have
Sounds like communism.
yes,
Yeah.
that you have a wheelchair,
Mhm.
etc. And if you need a special diet, we'll make sure that the food is given to you. If you need a house with a ramp, we'll make sure the ramp is built. All right? And this will all be paid for from the abundance.
Bull.
You
I
don't.
doubt they'll let that happen
No,
unless
because
there's a revolution.
the reason labor unions had to be devised is because the rich will not give you anything they don't have to give you. But with laws in place and the labor unions in place, they have to give you decent working conditions. They have to give you a decent wage. They have to give you the things that make your life livable. Without it, there was a 6-day work week, a 12-hour work day in some cases. People only had one day off, and that day was spent, just trying to probably getting drunk. As a matter of fact, they encouraged people to get drunk during work. They would have growlers of beer sent to the workplace at lunchtime, and people would
That actually sounds good.
get intoxicated. They become intoxicated so that they could get on with their lives, and they could still be productive because they were turning into alcoholics. I mean, I think that it was at Yang who had that universal income.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's going to have to be something like that, and I think actually a income that would allow you to live a simple life
Mhm.
would encourage people's creativity.
Yeah.
I think if you didn't have to scramble for just enough to eat
Yeah.
and a place to live, that people could get more creative and blossom into and into doing amazing things or coming up with ideas, because people's heads are so filled with the minutia of everyday existence that they can't possibly transcend that. You know, literature and art are for people who have their needs met. What right now people's needs are not being met. And you know, well, don't get me started on people thinking they need all this stuff. I keep trying to tell my grandchildren there's a difference between need and want. These people are telling you what you need, and you don't need that stuff. You know, I'm sure they're fascinated. But so if people could live, which you can live on a very small amount of money, and then you could figure out creative ways of expressing yourself and of maybe making money as an artist, or not everyone's an artist, but other ways. Some people might want to start, you know, a greenhouse or something. And you could do those things because you wouldn't be worried that you were going to starve to death if you stopped working for 20 seconds. If you just had money coming in, your mind could be free.
Yeah, here's another argument in favor of that universal basic income. When people say, who's going to do the jobs that nobody wants to do? For example, caring for the elderly in nursing homes. And the response is, those jobs are going to go from being paid this much to being paid that much. You could probably make like $100,000 a year doing jobs that nobody wants to do.
Yeah.
And that would be your choice.
But then the problem with that, if nursing homes were state run, then I could see that maybe that could happen, because the private sector is where the nursing homes are right now, and for the most part, and they're run like prisons, and they are all about profit. They don't care about the people. Let the people drop dead. We'll take their Social Security and their Medicaid until they drop dead. Who cares if they drop dead? We'll just get somebody else, put somebody else in there. There's a lot of old people. That's exactly that's how that one place where Pat, my mother-in-law, was before we got her into this assisted living. It's run by two guys out of New York City, and they don't give a living shit about anybody who's in that place. And it's disgusting, it's dirty, it's demoralizing, and many, unfortunately, are like that. So who is going to be paying these big wages to these people who don't want to do these jobs?
Well, the point is they won't have anybody showing up for work.
And then they won't be able to run them, but maybe
So they're gonna
maybe
have-
they'll figure out robots to do those jobs.
Maybe, yeah. Which brings us to the next part of this is, and I never thought of this, but this made a lot of sense. Work can be put into three categories. Is the work necessary to society? Is the work paid or volunteer? And is it a drain on your mental health, or is it beneficial to your mental health?
Okay.
Isn't that interesting? And you can ask that about any job you've ever had.
Since we became a service economy in this
Yeah.
country, a lot of the jobs that people get, even people with college educations, are, restaurant, fast food managers, and people that cater to the vacation industry, the recreation industry. There's no more manufacturing. I mean, it's very few manufacturing jobs. I mean, I think people did get a sense of satisfaction out of making things, even if it was a factory where you only did a small part of it. I think people were proud of their jobs, plus the fact that the unions negotiated for a decent living wage. They were proud of the fact they were able to bring home money to their families, and they could have a certain level of lifestyle. But I don't know how many people are really proud of being a manager at McDonald's. What are you doing? You're shoveling out really poor quality food to people. And, yeah, it serves a purpose. It's fast food. People don't want to have to cook or do, but I don't see it as being very satisfying work. Maybe somebody finds it satisfying. But so a lot of these jobs, people are coming home, they're miserable. And that's why people drink. That's why people take drugs. They're trying to numb the pain of their existence. And I say that to my grandchildren all the time. I said, you know what? When you're going to work for a long time. It's going to seem much longer if you hate your job. you know, if you can figure out what you want to do, that's going to bring you joy and be something that will give you, make you feel good about yourself. That's not going to be
So
work.
the smartest thing to do would be to invest in certain things if you knew what to invest in, whether it be collectibles like comic books or coins or whatever. But investing in things that you know are going to take off and be worth a
Yeah,
lot
but
more in the future
not everybody's
is a smart.
smart. Yeah.
That's a smart thing to do.
But the Beanie Babies, think about all these people that bought all these Beanie Babies and thought their
Well, you
kids were
have
going
to
to go to
have the
college.
wisdom to know the
Yeah.
difference
Right.
between.
Right. So it's a niche market, You can't expect everyone to know the difference between a Beanie Baby and a sports collectible. It's not the same. But yeah, I mean, reselling things. I mean, you can make decent money selling vintage things and selling things on eBay or whatever. People make a living doing that, but not everybody can do that because there's only a limited number of people buying. But jobs but now it's like it looks like all the social justice stuff is just falling away. Like
Oh yeah, worldwide too. It's worldwide. It's not just here.
Working with, I mean, my last job was a job coach. I loved it. I loved working with people.
So it gave you high mental satisfaction.
Yeah, the paperwork was stressful, but the actual doing the work was great. Or working with, working in organizations that help people. I don't know. I find that I find that to be fulfilling. But other people find something else fulfilling. But like I said, I don't think anybody's ever been fulfilled by a job as a manager, and it just makes you bitter in a fast food place. I mean, what do you think people are going to be doing when all these jobs are taken over by automation? I mean,
That's where the four futures come in.
but the only thing that makes sense, the only way we're going to be able to manage this. I mean, right now, the advertising companies are getting all these people to buy. If people have no money, who's going to buy? I mean, there's only so much shit you can buy, no matter how much money you have. Everything's going to fall apart. You're more optimistic, aren't you?
I am. I am optimistic.
Tell me your
That
optimistic
came up
vision.
in my discussion with our friend yesterday, who has a very bleak view of the future,
Yeah.
and I have the opposite viewpoint.
What do you see happening that's so optimistic?
Of the four futures, the last one I described.
I think that is unless there's a mandate, unless there's a political system whereby these rich people have to share.
Yeah.
Do you think the people are going to rise up and take over?
Oh, yes, I do.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
then
I think the working class is
How
going to
long
take
do you
control.
think that will take, though?
Well, it's going to take as long as we let it. It could take place tomorrow, if we all wanted it.
So, are you in favor of a violent insurrection?
Violence against people or against property, like.
Well, if we had to have something like the French Revolution, would that be something that you could accept?
No, well, I think there's a better way,
Oh, of course, there's a better way.
and
but
that is getting the military on your side. Because if you have the military on your side, there's nobody to fight against you. So, for example, in Venezuela, you had Hugo Chavez,
Yeah.
and the reason that Chavez got in is because he was supported by the military. The United States contacted the head general of the Venezuelan military and said, we want Chavez out. And so he gave the order to the troops, and the troops said, why would we do that? Look at what the good he's doing for our country.
Yeah.
Why would we do it? See, once you get the military on your side and they're willing to disobey the seniors.
But what's got to happen to get people to want to do the right thing?
Well, ideas have a powerful force in the world.
They do.
Oh yeah, repetition and propagation of ideas. You have to keep putting them out there over and over so people can see them.
Yeah,
and
but
get familiar
we
with
seem
them.
to be outplayed in that arena.
Outplayed.
You don't have to be.
Oh,
What you
yeah.
need is you need the left to. You need a certain kind of people on the left to rise up and use effective techniques to actually achieve something.
I haven't really
You
been.
can use some of the techniques that the right use, but you can use them for good. And a lot of people haven't
So
figured that out yet.
does the ends, what is that?
Justify the
the means. Are you saying that it would be we have to use deception?
No,
Not necessarily
Vanessa's saying
deception.
like repetition,
Yeah.
things
Repetition.
like that.
Familiarity.
Yeah, and how do we
that's
educate?
what they
How do we
use.
educate the people who apparently are against everything humane? How do we educate those people?
I think a lot of people
Some you
right
do,
now.
some
are-
you can't.
Yeah, a lot of people right now are working on that.
Okay,
You
good.
know-
That's good.
I know Vanessa's working on that. She's taking
Mm-hmm.
on all the fascistic people on Facebook.
I heard, and I hated to even believe it because it was too optimistic. I've heard that Trump's approval rating is the lowest ever.
Supposedly, depends on the source.
Yeah,
There's-
I don't know. I mean, it made me briefly like laugh. Ha ha.
I came up with this concept today. You know the concept of the alt-right, which is basically like the Tea Party and
Yeah.
eventually became MAGA?
Yeah.
Well, there needs to be a corresponding alt-left.
Well, there really is, isn't there? Isn't
There,
it?
no.
Isn't that the?
there, hopefully there will be, but there's very little. But you have to have an alt-left instead of your so-called mainstream ineffective left of now, which is a lot of the Democrat Party.
Yeah. There's too many. Yeah.
But when you have an alt-left rise, like an alt-right rose, then you can get somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but isn't
Good
that
point.
isn't that happening on college campuses and so on? Aren't they considered like an alt left, like all the demonstrations for the
For the subject we're not
Palestinians.
supposed to mention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah? I
That
mean,
would be a good example.
Some aspects, yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I'm feeling less optimistic.
But when
than
you get
Richard.
status quo morons like Chuck Schumer or like these idiotic career politicians that claim to be left,
We have to
that's
get
not
the
the
we have
answer.
to
You
get the
need an
dark money.
alternative that,
We
but
have to
from
get
the
the
left.
dark money out of politics. I don't know how that ever happened. Was that Clinton? Because whoever did that is radically wrong.
Yeah.
That money's got to go. And
Well, I mean, if you want to trace it to the source, it would be the U.S. Supreme Court in the Citizens United verdict. Yeah.
okay. That's one thing, and then we have to outlaw lobbyists.
Right.
In
Well,
a-
and also equally dangerous to lobbyists are public relations firms. I was shocked when I heard the statistic. Okay, so you got CBS, NBC, ABC. Think of all the mainstream news organizations. Think of how many people they employ. All right? Let's give it a number. Let's say it's 100,000 people.
Okay.
Do you know how many public relations employees are employed in America, if the press has 100,000 people working, then the public relations employees number in 500,000. It's 5 to 1.
Wow.
So what do these people do? They send news stories to CBS, ABC, and NBC saying, look, we have this footage of
They
whatever.
They spin.
And it comes complete with a narrative and everything. Except the narrative is meant to skew public opinion
Yeah.
a certain way.
Yeah. There's.
So when I was discussing this political thing yesterday, I said, don't you think that the sources that you're getting your information from are skewed by public relations firms? Because the wealthier you are, the more of these firms you can hire. Now, on WKBW and the other two stations locally, they love it when
WBBM.
people send them news stories from the national scene. They love it.
Yeah.
They don't have to pay for it. It's free. And it's skewed.
Yeah, it's all spin, and it's so deeply embedded. I mean, you'd really have to, I mean, maybe that's what, if that's what Trump's trying to do, if he's trying to blow up the whole system to start over again, maybe I agree with that. But
It's the opposite. He's repeating fantasy and pretending that it's news.
yeah,
He's repeating a lot of stuff from Putin.
yeah.
Rupert
I
Murdoch.
think he is in. It would not. I think I said this last week too. It would not surprise me if he and Putin are, and some of the other oligarchs are not already dividing up the world.
There's a hot new thing going around on social media, this whole theory that Trump is a Manchurian candidate he was approached by the Soviet Union in 1987 to bring about the fall of America.
Oh,
and there's a
that's
lot of stuff about that out there right now. And it's
I
very
don't know.
interesting.
I don't know about. All I can tell you is what I've seen, and I don't know anything about what is going on behind the scenes. But he's pretty obvious about it. He's had conversations with Putin when he wasn't even in office.
I think you have said on previous shows that Putin is hanging something over Trump's head.
Could be.
But also the fact that he's a strong man. Trump admires him as a strong man, and he would also like to be in league with him to take over the world. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but
No, it doesn't.
but he called himself a king the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, and one of
Well, he
the
wants Canada and he wants Greenland to start
right.
with. So
One of the pundits, the late night pundits, said something about how he tests the water with these crazy remarks, but then after he's tested the water, then he moves in on it, and he makes it real. So then they're always, he's joking. No, he's not joking. He's not joking. He does not.
He doesn't joke.
He talked also about having a third term. He's talked also about maybe never leaving. And this is all, people.
And that's all stuff Putin did.
Yeah,
Putin
people
never left.
Right.
He follows the Putin playbook. If you
people
want to
that
see what Trump's
support-
going to do,
Right. People that support Trump say that he's trolling. He's trolling you, libtards. He's trolling you. He's not
that's
going
like
to
what
do
they said
that.
about Project 2025.
Yeah.
What is that?
2025.
Oh.
Yeah. That's the.
They always gaslight in the beginning and say, "Oh, it isn't true. You're overreacting." That's from the fascist playbook.
Yeah. But that is definitely it's my biggest fear is that's the plan. Getting out of NATO, leaving all the moderate countries to fend for themselves
rule
as
of
China
the oligarchs.
and North Korea. Of course, they don't have any real power because they're broke. Their people are starving. But China, Russia, and the United States, I have a big pit in my stomach every time I think about it.
Hmm. Putin's one of the richest people in the world, too.
Yeah, I don't know anything about his
He
finances, but
is.
I do know that if it's,
He's one of the oligarchs,
yeah.
the true oligarchs.
And then that would turn back to what we were talking about earlier, Richard, is this old theory of war where you just march in and you take what you want, and you gut the city and then you just move in. I mean, it's like what the Nazis did. I mean, I hate to say
Yes,
it,
exactly.
but
A lot of the exact same things are happening.
I know I sent to Vanessa an article, 11 examples from Nazi Germany in the 30s and their parallels with America in 2025. Did you find that astonishing, Vanessa?
No, because I already knew most of that stuff. I just found it like true.
yeah, it is. It's scary, and they are gaslighting us, but they're not. He's disregarding the judge, the Supreme Court judge told him to start paying those, honoring those contracts for USAID, and he said no. And they told him twice, and he said no twice. And now the judge is saying this is a I don't know how the wording is. This is a constitutional crisis.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the judge is going to do next, but how's he going to force him to do it
Right.
if he decides not to? This is it.
This is why the military will have to side with the judiciary.
Well, maybe I don't know.
Maybe they won't.
Maybe. I don't know. But all I can say is he said no twice to the check on his power. He said no twice. How much more do we need?
Yeah, who's going to force him?
I don't know. I don't know what's going to have to happen to get him to stop. It's not going to be an easy. I mean, it should be. He's an old fat guy. It should be easy to stop him, but no, it's not.
All that Mac food he eats is full of preservatives
Why?
and all that Diet
I know.
Coke, so he's never gonna live forever if he's eating that crap.
Oh, Lou, you probably
preservatives.
shouldn't have said that.
Maybe we shouldn't repeat that.
Yeah.
People think that stuff's bad
Just
for
say,
you, but it actually
Lou,
preserves
type
you.
just kidding. Right now.
Oh, jeez, you're gonna.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I couldn't even bring myself to say that I was sorry that the guy missed, because I don't believe in violence. Violence is not the answer. But we've got a situation here. I don't know what's going to happen. So Richard, show us your new camera. Oh no, that's an old one. Okay. I thought he was saying it again. But anyway, we've got a minute and 41 seconds here. So is there anything anybody's wanted to say before we're off the air?
Nominated for Best Picture of the Year is the movie The Brutalist. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't. Have you?
I'm watching it right now, and I was reading the critics about the movie, and they talked about all the symbolism in the movie, not to mention the title.
Yeah.
What does that title mean to you?
Ooh, it's a great school of architecture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Would you like to see what it looks like?
Oh yeah.
It's really ugly architecture, isn't
Well,
it?
you decide.
I like it.
Mr.
Okay.
Windsor,
A
can you
lot
show
of
us
people
VIN?
hate it, but there is a lot of beauty to it.
Can you show us VIN 9?
We have a couple brutalists.
Oh,
That's nice.
that's actually very interesting. I
And
like
of
that.
Elmwood and Forest.
I like that.
In other words, at the end of the Second World War, there was a lot of devastation, and the architects thought up this idea, well, if we're going to rebuild Europe, we have got to build it quickly and inexpensively.
It's all concrete and stuff.
It's all
right?
concrete, pre-made forms,
So
etc.
there's a movie about this?
Yeah, about a guy
Yeah,
who
The
I'm
Brutalist.
interested in this.
Okay, I will send you a copy.
Okay. Yeah, that's something that Greg and I want to see as well. It's a long movie though, isn't it? It's like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we didn't want to see it at the movie theater. We thought it
Yeah,
would
that
be
was
too
very
much.
popular, that architecture in the Soviet bloc in Eastern Europe.
Ha, no pun intended. Blocks, brutalism.
Yeah, the Soviet blocs.
All right, so I'm going to go now. It's 3, 2, 1. Thank you, everybody watching, and thank you, Richard, and of course my son Tom on drums, and Vanessa. We're done.